Let's get straight into it. The Dolphins, big news throughout this season. They're struggling to attract the players to the club. Wayne Bennett taken on as coach. Obviously, the big miss of Reece Walsh last week has got a lot to do with this. They just can't land that big fish. But we all thought that Wayne Bennett was going to attract players. The NRL thought that he would attract players. I think everyone did. What's going on there, Buzz?
Well, it's obviously he's having great difficulty, and they also signed Peter O'Sullivan, generally regarded as one of the sharpest recruitment men in rugby league, and it just hasn't worked out to this stage. But look, I don't think we should be that concerned at the moment. I think the game needs to be giving them a little bit more help, like the AFL franchises gave the Suns and the GWS Giants when they came in.
But they're not getting that help.
Sorry?
They're not getting that help, so we have to be concerned. The NRL's made no move to try and help them.
Yeah, well, what I'm saying is, Kenty, there should be.
I agree with that.
I think we've
Do you think the NRL would regret that? That now they've only given them 1 year.
Yeah,
they haven't financially helped them at all.
They don't need financial help. They own a shopping centre, they own their ground, and they got about 100 mil in the bank. They don't need financial help.
Cap compensation.
Yeah, but what happened when the AFL teams came in? They got picked 1, 3, 5 and 7 in a draft. We don't have a draft. There were concessions made for them. I think we've got to look at a system where we do help them recruit. And if next time someone like Reece Walsh comes off or Luke Brooks comes off, give them first crack at it. Give them $1 million extra in the salary cap, only for 3 years. They are eventually going to be a powerful outfit. They have a huge junior league, as big as Penrith. They've got 9 players signed from the Queensland under-15s team. So, but the concern is they're going to come in early and they're going to be rubbish because they can't sign a player. We don't need another bottom 4 club in this comp.
Bonnie, you've spoken to a few people up there at the Dolphins. How are they sitting? How are they feeling?
Yeah, the salary cap stuff, they said that we could have thrown extra money at players. It wouldn't have really mattered. What they really would have appreciated was extra time. 12 months to sign 34 players was just not enough because they don't get enough access to players coming off contract. At the moment, they've signed 24. And as you mentioned, it's not the ideal roster. I think the Reece Walsh situation that we threw about last week was a great example of the Warriors preventing what would have been a marquee man for the Dolphins and saying, look, we'll release you on compassionate grounds. Yes, stay in Brisbane, look after your family, but if they're fair dinkum about being compassionate, don't you want the best deal for that young man? Now, we know that the Dolphins had $700,000 per year on the table for Reece Walsh. The Broncos had about half that. So if you had a 700 over 4 years, that's $2.8 million. If you're on compassionate grounds, you want to start taking care of your family. Don't you want a young man to have access to that and also be coached by Wayne Bennett, who has been telling everyone up there he loves being from out behind the glass and back onto the grass. Redcliffe is such a powerful club and has been since Arthur Beetson walked through the doors in the mid-60s. They have been supplying NRL players, ARL players, New South Wales Rugby League players for decades, and now it feels like there's no goodwill being returned.
That Wayne Bennett, to all of us who follow the game, watch the game, thought that it was going to be really attractive. The best coach in the game. Well, arguably the best coach that's ever coached in the game. But Kenny, has it backfired? Because just say the Warriors, for example, or other clubs, they're threatened by Wayne. So they don't want their players going to the Dolphins because they know that Wayne could possibly get the best out of them. They know that Wayne's arguably the best coach in the game. So him being so successful and so powerful and so good at what he does, has that backflipped on them in the end?
Well, I think the problem, I wouldn't say so much as backfired as it just hasn't worked out as they hoped. Like, Wayne was told, the NRL told the Dolphins they wanted Wayne as their coach. The Dolphins, I believe, had Paul Green lined up for the job until the NRL said, no, we want Wayne Bennett because they believed that Wayne Bennett would have the Pied Piper effect that would just bring players. And it just hasn't worked out that way. And I think there's been a lot of changes in recent years in the rugby league landscape, and the gold star reputation that Wayne carried for a long, long time is not quite what it was. So there's a lot of rivals around the game quite happy to see him failing at the moment.
But Kenny, it's very hard for Wayne Bennett to sign Reece Walsh when he's got no access to him.
Well, he can't, Buzz. He's not allowed to talk to him. That was the condition of the Warriors. He's not allowed to talk to him.
Yeah, but could the NRL, Andrew Abdo, have stepped in and said, well, hang on a minute, if you're going to release him...
No, they couldn't. It's the Warriors' contract with the player.
Yeah, I know.
So let's go on top of that. Look at the other players. It's not just Reece Walsh he's missed. They've missed Brandon Smith. They've missed who else have we got? You go through all the players. There's Turnover for
Ryan Madison.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a whole stack of them that they've listed, and that's the issue. The issue is they cannot get the big fish that they anticipated Wayne would be the man to deliver. And that's going to be the issue. Now, they've had a bit of a wake-up call, I think, the past fortnight, where they came out last week blowing about Reece Walsh, only a week after their coach was trying to induce another player at another club under contract to break his contract to go there next year. Like, the hypocrisy of that was outstanding. Like, that only in rugby league does that happen. But that's their welcome to the big leagues moment. They've got to get it. They've got to get back in the game, and they've got to figure out a way to do it. I agree with you. When the Warriors and the Crushers and the Perth Reds and the Cowboys came in the 90s, the NRL gave them a couple of years lead in. So they had a lot of players coming off contract that by the time they were having their first season, that they could negotiate with. The Dolphins have not had anywhere near that time. So they've only had less than half the competition. What's the number, Vonnie? It's 30%?
30% of players have come off contract.
30% of players in the NRL are coming off contract that they can actually speak with. That's not a big drawing point, is it? And that's a problem because that really affects where you're going.
And another problem they've got is year one, they want Cameron Munster in year two, 2024. So they're going to have to keep the Munster money free. Like if they sign Luke Brooks, they can only give him big money the first year because they're hoping Munster will, but they're not certain whether Munster will go there. It's really, really difficult job they've got to do.
Yeah, but look, they've done this, right? So that they've come in. And so in the NFL, for example, when they open up to a new franchise or whatever, they say to teams, and the American sports do this very well, they say to all the franchises, you can protect a certain amount of players, but all the rest are free agents if the new franchises want to negotiate. So they get that. So they're allowed to do that. The NRL should have done something similar. As for the Dolphins now complaining about not getting hold of Reece Walsh, Wayne Bennett was the architect of that. Justin Hodges was coming off contract as a young kid, signed with the Roosters. If we remember when he was at the Broncos, Wayne Bennett put him immediately in reserve grade and kept him there. And he warehoused him there. So for them to sit down now and talk about the Penrith halfback that's not being developed now at Penrith because he's on his way to the Dolphins, once again, the hypocrisy of that. Like, come on, guys. This is. I don't get how they're bitching and moaning. These are the rules. You came in, you pushed hard, you got your franchise, well done. But these are also the rules you agreed to come in on.
Yeah, but they're happy to be patient, but I think it's been far more difficult and challenging than they anticipated. And, you know, they're already an established club. You mentioned that landscape there is so popular and it is going to be a stronghold at some point in the NRL level, but not at the moment.
It was always going to be a huge challenge within 12 months, especially with the competition the way that it is. There's a top echelon of clubs and teams and players, but it was always going to be hard to find an elite squad to go to the Dolphins in its first year.
And they also got a delay because of COVID breaks, because the NRL kept putting the decision back because of COVID, which just cost the Dolphins time. They couldn't negotiate with them because they weren't officially in, even though towards the end there we all got the indication that that's where they were heading. They still couldn't negotiate with anybody. The NRL really need to stick their hand up here and actually going to have to figure out, heading forward, how they're going to try and help the Dolphins organisation out, because it's not going to be solved in 1 or 2 years either. Particularly if they've got players under contract for 2 or 3 years that they've had to lock in, and then 12 months into it, think these guys aren't up to it.
Back on Wayne. Wayne's the right man for the job. There's no doubt about that. But because he's such a big threat, I think he's finding it hard working with the other clubs, and there's no leniency there because
they don't want to work with him, bro.
Well, of course, and that's over. Well, why not? But that's over a long period of time. Is it just because he's a threat?
Even you look at his relationships with South, and he left there really, really tight. And, you know, it was a really nice relationship, but now he's trying to pinch Sam Burgess off them. And that wouldn't go down well. Like,
it hasn't gone down
Sam
well.
Burgess has been on big money and not played, had a lot of personal issues the club's helped Sam through for 3 years. But Wayne's now trying to pinch him to go to... These things don't help.
No, and that's what upsets a lot of the old teams. Like, yeah, there is a trail that gets left behind sometimes.
But the NRL, they're making a lot of money off the TV rights deal and with the Dolphins coming, the inclusion of the Dolphins coming into the competition. Is it the responsibility of other clubs to help out?
Well, my view is this. The TV deal went up $100 million over 5 years with the inclusion of the Dolphins. So they're bringing Anley an an extra $20 million into the game. They only take $13 million a grant, so it's more money for the game. We get an 18th team, it's another $100 million. That's how the broadcasters work it. So, yeah, in the long run, a powerhouse Redcliffe Dolphins and a powerhouse Broncos is what we want. We want Suncorp Stadium full every week, not every second week. It'll be huge for rugby league. It'll make the next broadcast deal even better. I have no doubts about the Dolphins are going to be a success. Not after they get over these initial years. They'll be huge. I don't think we've got another Crushers or Perth or
That's
anything.
provided they're well run. You can't guarantee they're going to be successful.
I think Terry Reid is a fair operator.
Oh, he might be.
I think Wayne Bennett is the right man to be doing that job.
It's an established club. These aren't new rugby league people.
So is Canterbury.
Yeah, that's true.